Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video, doing the 10 to 14 day video update for today's second video. So day 10 will take us to around the 21st of October, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles. Maybe run around a couple of weeks, have a look at CFS V2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks, which takes us into November, of course. I shall get on with that for you very shortly. Just say, but the first video release was our 7 AM forecast, and we've got part 2 of the 6th Winter 2021-2022 update coming up for you at 6 PM this evening. That's the analog side of the 6th update. So have a look at that. And, have a look at that, and that'll be the 6th update then. Complete, and then we roll on after that to the 7th update. We're cracking on through our winter updates now. Can you believe it? We're nearly halfway through. Amazing. But still got lots to show you, of course. Right, so have a really lovely Monday. Please like, share, subscribe on videos. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Let's crack on then with a 10 to 14 day. So, starting in the tropical Atlantic, we've got 3 interest areas. So, let's deal with them one by one. We've got a yellow X just here off the Carolina coast of America. That's disturbance 1. That just has a 0% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours and a 0% chance in the next 5 days. We don't have to worry about that one. We have a yellow X just here in the Caribbean. So that is disturbance 3 with a 10% chance of cyclone formation in the next 2 days and a 20% chance in 5 days. I don't think I have to worry too much about that one. And then we have this yellow X just here, which is disturbance 2, and that one has a 20% chance of cyclone formation in the next 2 days, and a 20% chance, and a 30% chance, I should say, in the next 5 days. Again, I don't think we have to worry too much about that at the moment. So we've got these disturbance areas, but at the moment it doesn't look like they're going to develop into any storms. And so we're in a slightly quieter period now for this hurricane season. I think it's still got more to go. I would be surprised if we get to the end of this season without at least one more, really big storm kicking off. But at the moment, we're going for a slightly quieter interlude, so we shall see whether, because these are just forecasts, of course, for these disturbance areas. We'll see whether they get, ramped up over the next day or so. Coming back to home, the central temperature is standing at 13.1 now. That is an anomaly of 1 degree above average. That's provisional to yesterday, to the 10th of October. I don't see that moving up a great deal more. I think it'll hover around there. May even tick down a little bit over the next few days, because I've got some rather cooler nights coming up. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. We're at London today. Red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for London. We're starting off quite close to average at the moment. We are going to drop the temperature a little bit over the next couple of days. So, as I said, we've got some cold nights to come. I think that will take me central temperature down a little bit. Towards the end of the week, the upper air temperatures lift up briefly. Then they drop down again, and then they lift up again. So a little bit of a zonal sine wave appearing there, actually. It does look as though we're entering into a period of cooler and warmer, and cooler and warmer sectors alternating with one another, albeit still, really within high pressure. But we'll be changing the air mass within the high pressure on a day-to-day basis. And then as we go into the 3rd week of October and on towards the last week of the month, it does appear that we've got a more general cooling trend appearing then. So we may be in for a bit of a cold snap at some point through the final week to 10 days of October. Of course, remains to be seen about that. Precipitation-wise, going to be loads of dry weather over the next few days as well. Gradually getting a bit more unsettled over weekend into the early part of next week. I think that breakdown might have been put back a little bit from the weekend to the early part of next week within a lot of these GFS ensemble members. They don't look overly unsettled now at the weekend. It's more in towards next week that they start to turn more unsettled. But they do turn more unsettled with a lot of precipitation spikes there for the final 10 days of October. Temperature anomalies from the 11th to the 19th of October, warmer than average. It's going to be a milder than average week coming up. precipitation anomalies from the 11th to the 19th of October, generally drier than normal. Latest wind flow map from earth.nullschool.net shows that high pressure remains in control of the weather, and yeah, we've got light winds within this area of high pressure, and the rain-bound areas of low pressure they're being pushed off to the north once again. Right, so this is how the UK Met Euro is looking for Thursday, with high pressure dominating weather. There will be an area of rain in the north, but otherwise we're high and dry on Thursday. High pressure sort of pulls out to our west a little bit on Friday, and into Saturday we start to pull in some cooler air into that high pressure. But again, the high pressure is the dominating factor. As we go through Sunday and into Monday, find high pressure gradually easing away, low pressure beginning to move in off the Atlantic, not with a great deal of conviction, I have to say, but by around this time next week it is starting to turn a bit more unsettled. That may have been put back by a couple of days though, from the weekend to the early part of next week now. As far as we go with UK Met, this is how the GFS midnight run is looking. Again, lots of high pressure domination on Thursday. The high pressure then pulls out to our west on Friday, and a cold front moves southwards. That will bring a band of cloud, rain, and lower temperature into the northern half of the country. The cold front and the area of low pressure is likely in the south, but it's a very weak feature by the time we get through to Saturday. Then high pressure sort of re-establishes itself actually through the weekend. So again, yesterday, over weekend, there's the idea that this coming weekend would see the high pressure break and low pressure pushes through. Now that's been pushed back by a couple of days. So midnight on Monday was still more or less under this ridge of high pressure. It's not until beyond that we find quite a deep area of low pressure developing, breaking down the high and turning us wet and windy, and eventually pulling in much colder northerly winds by the middle of next week. It's Wednesday 20th of October, when we're having a little bit of a northerly blast there from the low pressure moving into Scandinavia. So our first sort of northerly plunge of season around the middle of next week showing up on the GFS midnight run, probably enough to turn showers wintry into quite low levels across northern Scotland, and could give us our first widespread sort of overnight air frost as well. That's how we look to get day 10. So the northerly winds begin to push off into Scandinavia, high pressure reaching in from off the Atlantic, but that's within a cool air mass, so we could expect it to be quite cold under that area of high pressure with a risk of overnight frost. In the more extended range, high pressure sort of continues around the country through into the last week of October. Not much in the way of unsettled weather. It is quite a cold ridge, though. And winds generally all the time coming in from like a northerly direction. So quite a coldish sort of final week to 10 days of October with that GFS midnight run. This is how the GFS 6 is looking. This is the very latest, just updated. Again, lots of high pressure dominating on Thursday, but there will be a weather system bringing some rain into the north, and then through Friday and into the weekend, the high pressure, just carries on really. So this is a change of what we saw yesterday when the high pressure was breaking over the weekend. Now that high pressure is being forecast by the GFS to hang around into the weekend, and even into the early part of next week. Actually, high pressure is still there with the GFS 6. It's not until Tuesday, 19th of October, week tomorrow, high pressure finally collapses and we push this area of low pressure. And initially that has a push of warm southwesterly winds with it, but they quickly get swept away by probably an active cold front bringing heavy rain, and then we turn the wind into the west and northwest and go much more unsettled. As we get to day 10, we're in a little bit of a northerly again with the 6Z, and proper northerly into Scandinavia as well. That'll bring a lot of snow potentially across Scandinavia as we get into the middle part of next week, maybe into quite southern, to some quite southern locations in Scandinavia, but particularly in central northern areas. We're on the edge of that, but we are bringing in a colder northerly northeasterly wind around the middle of next week with GFS 6Z as well. And then bringing extended range with this GFS run, we get a diving low moving in from the north. So notice how this low pressure is around Iceland as we're at Friday, the 22nd of October. That low pressure then starts to dive southwards, so that by Sunday, 24th of October, the low is actually across northern France and the Low Countries, bringing in the wind from the north-northeast. So that's turning colder, but it's also unsettled through the last week of October. These diving lows were something we had quite a lot of last autumn and winter. It is quite unusual for low pressure to decouple from Iceland and plunge down the western side of Europe. We've had quite a bit of it last autumn winter. It's beginning to show up within, the shorter range model output now, albeit this is over 10 days away. And then we go into like an unsettled and quite cool end to this GFS run. Gets to 27th of October when we're bringing in winds from west-northwesterly direction. But still with high pressure just to our southwest, so there's a lot of dry weather there. Some of the west areas is a little bit more unsettled in the north and the east, though. We could see some colder weather, I think, during the final week or so of October. This is how the GM is looking. If you're enjoying this video, please can you like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for doing that. This is how the GM is looking. Once more, high pressure is in control of the weather on Thursday through to Friday. A cold front comes south into that area of high pressure. Will be a weakening feature, but probably lowers the temperature at the end of the week and into the weekend. High pressure gradually easing away as we go through the weekend. This is midnight on Monday when we're looking unsettled. So the GM is still bringing this low pressure in, through Sunday, actually. The GM still has to break down to the high pressure on Sunday. And then we go into an unsettled, wet and windy spell as we move up towards day 10. Quite tightly packed ice bars, though, so it is turning much windier and also a lot wetter as well with active weather fronts. And then we've got the ECMWF again on Friday. We're bringing down this band of cloud and patchy rain through the country and probably introducing a colder air mass from the north into the area of high pressure over the weekend. High pressure more or less hangs on, particularly across England and Wales. It does weaken a little bit across Scotland and Northern Ireland, even into the open of next week. It's midnight Monday. Still relatively high pressure. Not until around Tuesday, Wednesday now that the ECM pushes that low pressure and its weather fronts through. So that's when we get the definitive breakdown early next week. And by day 10, we're looking quite unsettled, particularly so more northern and western areas. Still relatively high pressure, though, in the south. We're not too far at all from that 1,020 millibar isobar, but just through the channel. So even up to day 10, I mean, there's probably quite a bit of dry weather, to be honest, down in the south. And that's relatively mild. But as this low pressure deepens and pushes through, it would eventually probably introduce something wetter and colder from the west and from the northwest. This is the precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from meteo.com. There's going to be lots of dry weather around over the next few days. What rain there is mainly in the north. This is towards the end of next week when we bring that weak weather front southwards, so that will fizzle out as it runs into high pressure. But it will probably lower the temperature at the end of the week and into the weekend. Over the weekend, instead of next week, it takes a long time to bring this wet weather in of the Atlantic. We eventually do, by around Tuesday next week, we get a proper band of rain pushing through, but that has been put back by a couple of days. We finish up, though, looking really quite settled. This is 19th of October, when we're looking very wet then across England and Wales. So it does eventually get there, it's just been delayed by a day or two. And by day 10, we're into this push of westerly winds with rain, particularly in more northern and western areas. These are the options that are on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10, which gets us to the 21st of October. From the Icelandic Met Office, 15 members of the ECM ensembles have low pressure to our north and northeast, and we bring in winds from like a northwesterly direction. Quite cool and unsettled with that. We've got 13, including the control run that has low pressure to north of Scotland, high pressure to the south-southwest of the country, winds are in the westerly direction. Most of the settled weather that is in the north, driest weather is in the south. We have 12 with deep low pressure over top of the country. That's going to be very unsettled, of course. 7 with low pressure again to our north-northwest. High pressure just to our south. May look pretty flat and westerly. And 4, including the operational run, that has low pressure to the north. High pressure is just to the south and winds are in from a westerly direction as well. So that includes the operational run. And only 4 are going with the operational run from that exact scenario. So the operational run not all that well supported for this exact scenario that we see here. However, it's only a very, very slight difference, really, with this option, for example, here, 13 there, and also the 7 here. They're just differing ever so slightly on the exact strength of the ridge to the south and below to the northwest. But they're more or less all in the same direction. So the 13 there, the 7 there, the 7 there, and the 4 that we have here, they're all the same option. Probably the 15 there as well. They're more or less the same option. They just differ very, very slightly with the you know, exact detail, but they're all sort of flat and westerly at that point. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got in the ECM ensembles. This will get us to 26th of October. 22 members of the ECM ensembles, very unsettled, low pressure in off the Atlantic, so obviously that's bringing a wet end to October. 16, again, low pressure, more or less in off the Atlantic, so again that's going to be quite unsettled. And then 13, a minority option to have us still under a ridge, or have us back under a ridge of high pressure. Obviously that is the driest option, but it does look as though we're going to have an unsettled sort of final week or so, week to 10 days of October. And it could get a little bit cold as well at some point. There might be a cold snap within that unsettled weather from the north. Probably only temporary, probably only lasting a day or two, but just a little reminder, perhaps at some point through the last week of October, that, you know, we are getting very late on in the year now. Right, so finally, CFS V2, these are 500 millibar heights, breaking down to week periods. The first week period takes from the 11th to 17th of October. The coming week will be dominated by high pressure over and slightly to the west of the country, low pressure to the north, and extending down through central parts of Europe. We're on the periphery of a northerly plunge, and we might turn a little bit cooler at times. All change for week 2, which is the 18th to 24th of October. Then we have lots of low pressure to our north, and we're bringing in westerly, so turning wet and windy in week 2. Week 3 also looks very unsettled, which is 25th of October to the 31st, Halloween. Low pressure again is in off the Atlantic, so definitely much more unsettled through the final week, 10 days or so of October. Again, that might include a little bit of a cold snap as well. And then all change again for week 4, which is the 1st through to the 7th of November. High pressure then builds over and to the west-northwest of the country. That's turning drier, but could be quite cold. That might start to bring in a little bit of a northeasterly flow with that. So that could see things turning quite a bit colder into the start of November. Mainly dry, but with temperature taking a little bit of a plummet. And we might start getting some proper overnight frost and fog developing with that kind of scenario. But it is, of course, 4 weeks away, so very, very long way out. Right, that's it for today's video then. Today's 10 to 14 day video anyway. That's it. So if you enjoyed the video, please do smash the like button. Make sure you sub to the channel. You actually see future weather content if you do that, including future winter updates, and also future Christmas updates, and also future live streams. So yeah, give us a sub. We're on the grind to 13,000 subscribers. Got to put on around another 35, I think, 40. To get ourselves to 12.3k. So please subscribe. Thank you so much for doing that. Tell your friends and family to subscribe as well. And drop a comment. Let us know anything about this and all of our videos. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Right, we're going to be back at 6 with part 2 of the SIP Winter 2021-2022 update. That will close the door, then close the book on the SIP Winter update in 2 parts. So make sure you're around to have a look at that. It's looking at September data, and again, as we did last week, and this time with focus on England and Wales precipitation. Right, so that's coming up at 6, but for this 10 to 14 day, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.